Good evening. Welcome to Siddha Vetha webinar series. Today we have a speaker, and it's none but myself. I'm the Vice Chancellor at Vetha Center for Transdisciplinary Studies. I have more than 20 years of experience in teaching and bringing this ancient science and technology to the West. Today we are talking about thought manifestation and how we use thought cloud for bringing the conscious thought into reality. So that will be our topic. So I want all of you to focus on a little meditation, and then we can start on the course. Everybody please mute your phone as you enter, so that I don't have to control the mute button. So just be in the mute. So I want all of you to focus on your breath, and then just follow my instructions. So let's purify this electronic space. That the electronic space through which we are connected is purified by the divine energy. The electronic space is purified by the divine energy. Divine energy descends upon us, purifies body and soul. Salutations to your mother, your father, and all the sage scientists who gave us the wisdom. Concentrate on your breathing pattern gently. Concentrate on the breath. It is going inside your body, only the inner part, not through your nostril. Observe the breath that goes inside all parts of your body and comes out, but do not focus on your nostril, but the breath that's going in and out. It is making the vibrations inside your body. Just focus on that. Now slowly start focusing on the thought which is coming out of you. Observe the thought. Do not try to refrain it. Just start to observe each thought. Wherever it comes, just observe the thought. Different signals. It could be an audio signal or a video signal or signals that are unknown. But observe what you're doing inside you. Observe. As you observe, the thought disappears. But then thought appears somewhere else. You observe, it disappears. Like weeds that come out of the earth, the thoughts appears by itself. But as you start to concentrate on these weeds and pluck it out, it won't come again. But it starts to appear somewhere else. As you continue to do this, the distance between the two weeds increases. The distance between your thought increases. Now, as the distance increases, observe the gap between these two thoughts. Like the gap between the thoughts, there is always a gap. You can concentrate instead of the thought. You started concentrating thought, another thought comes. If you start concentrating on a gap, another gap comes. Start to observe the gaps continuously. It is like the 0 and 1. As you start to concentrate on the 0, the 1 disappears. If you concentrate on 1, the 1 continues to come. Now you concentrate on the 0, thoughtlessness state. As you concentrate, your breath automatically stops. Just without any doubt, stop your breath and concentrate on the 0 as long as you can. Let's conclude our meditation. Gently come to body consciousness. Rub your hands gently. Do eye palming. May the whole world be blessed by the divine. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay. Okay. So this is the cosmic thought cloud. And, you know, let's see what is a thought, first of all, you know. What is a thought and how does the thought come into our mind? So far, you know, researchers wanted to investigate the Western world. Scientists started to think about, you know, what thought is. Apparently, one of these scientists, you know about Bose, he understood Vedic literature and he discussed a concept about the thought with one of the scientist, Heisenberg. So Heisenberg, he formulated what is called uncertainty principle based on that, but he didn't really understood the concept, or maybe understood, but the world is interpreting it very differently. So most of the quantum mechanical applications that came out of uncertainty principle were based on these ideas. So the entire quantum mechanic thing about uncertainty, that you cannot detect a particle beyond a certain range. All these ideas are a wave particle duality. A particle can be as a wave and wave as a particle. All these ideas manifested from that preliminary thought, but these ideas came from the ancient literature. So let us see what thought is in a very common, as a common man. What are your thoughts made up of? Thoughts are ideas. Ideas are made up of mostly videos, signals, or audio signals. So if you know, keep quiet, you're taking a shower, you know, and then you will see somebody singing inside you, you know, and you start humming, and then, you know, you maybe start singing. But some kind of a sound goes manifest, or some kind of a video images manifest, or sometimes you can get some smell, touch, the very subtler sensations, but mostly it is dominated by video and audio signals, which are mostly received through our eyes, ears. So the net combination of what we have received through our eyes, nose, and five senses, tongue, and you know, the skin, so as touch, they are imprinted inside us, and that imprints, when they are projected again through the brain, we see them as thoughts. So thought is nothing but an observation of what you already recorded and imprinted in us. So now, so now what is a new thought? How do you develop a new thought? So you're using the thought, but you are using a mind to process a new thought by the combination, permutation and combination of this existing thoughts. You can form your own thought, or you can get thoughts from outside. So many ways you can get thoughts. So let us assume that you are creating your own thought through the combinations. So if you are creating your own thought, not through borrowed thoughts, then the possibility will be mostly a genetical thought that you got it from your parents and through generations that you carried on. And with those permutation and combinations, you cannot create much, but like the one that you can, what your parents or grandparents did, those kind of thought, maybe good or bad, we don't know, but some ideas that can come from outside by listening to yogis and other ideas. They are induced thought from outside, and those thoughts, they flow everywhere, and then as you tune in to the radios, you can get these thoughts, new ideas, new concepts, or you can directly get from the consciousness, like the truth, as tuning to consciousness and becoming one and becoming an agent. And that's how all sage scientists did, who surrendered themselves into consciousness at the zero state, and from that revealed information as truth, and that came into different forms of books. So there are different ways you can get this thought, but you have an idea and you wanted to manifest the thought. So then what we do? So as I said, thought is a wave. So you can think about as a sine wave as a wave that goes like a wave in an ocean, and it has all the properties of a wave. It is reflection, refraction, penetration, interaction, flash, all the properties what a wave has. And the wave function represented by psi or any other element, you can call it ohm or whatever you can call it, is a representation of a sinusoidal wave with a certain angle. And this wave can go back and forth. So when you are creating a wave, a thought process, the thought doesn't just stay inside you, it travels back and forth. So the idea that so far the brain is everything, the concept is totally wrong. And this concept of the wave theory was given by Patanjali, who really did a lot of work on the wave theory. Probably prior to that, there would have been information about thought wave, but Patanjali did significantly contribute to the thought as a wave function. And so you can see that the wave nature of the mind or a thought is a very important concept, because that breaks down what you fundamentally call the brain as the neurons and action potentials and signals coming from neurons. All these theories totally become wrong when you look at this theory. So what ancient science theory, either you can take it as a simple binary number theory. So these are concepts from ancient science, from Ramana Maharishi and other concepts, where you can think that the thought is a 1-0 binary system, where it's made up of signals and no signal, and signal, no signal, like 1-0 pattern. And that's a form of thought that we get, because your thought is not a very continuous one. It is mostly discrete. So it is discrete. That's the nature of the thought, because there is a vibration, there's no vibration. Vibration, that's how it makes. It's like a film which goes, there is a gap in the film, and then you roll. In those days, you have this, in the cinema theaters and all, you have these film rolls that roll, right? And then you can find that films, each step, you want to brush, each step will go like this, number of steps are there, like the cartoons we ran. And, but there is a break in between. So that break is there. And this discreteness of thought is a very important concept according to ancient science. And there are a lot of possibilities by, just now we did a meditation, and then you can see that your normal pattern will be 1-0, 1-0, and mostly you are disturbed because you have a 1 that's coming up, and then you're not peaceful. And at this state, if you're not peaceful and you want to think something, you are not going to manifest. Nothing is going to. The more you think, you won't be able to manifest it. It's like a clean board. You have a clean board, You write something, everybody can see it, you can see it clearly. If a board is already filled, it's very difficult. That's why little kids are like gods, because their mind is pure, and whatever we tell them, they're able to observe, because they are like a clean board. Human beings, we assume that we can do many things. You could do many things, but miserable things. The more we do many things in a very aggravated state, like the first one, which is filled with thoughts, you tend to create things that are high frequency thoughts, large carbon footprint, and invasive technology. That's what is happening in modern world. When you are having continuous thought and you wanted to manifest that, you are going to break the rules of nature, and that's how you can manifest. You will have marketing technologies that are invasive, destructive technologies. You go, extract all the natural resources and you drain them. And also, there is no love and compassion when doing that. It doesn't consider environmental effects. All these thoughts are because of like how we think, from what pattern we think. So if you look at the lower pattern, this is a yogic self-generated pattern at low frequency thoughts. So you're decreasing as you start to decrease the number of thoughts. As you start to observe, the ones start to increase, and the ones start to decrease, and the gap increases. And as the gap between the thought increases, and now you're making a thought, these thoughts which are coming after a gap will have high intensity. They're even, you can write like a delta peak. So these all are like, thoughts that can manifest. But these thoughts are, will have less carbon footprint, non-invasive and responsible technologies, and it will have love and compassion. So that's a huge difference between these two thoughts. So people may think, people had several ideas. If they didn't meditate, how did they get these ideas? But these are people who have built invasive technologies. Talking about the sage scientists, look at it. They all build non-invasive technologies, amazing technologies, but they are not in use. So we'll say how that can be put into use. So the thought manifests in different areas. So if you look at like the the transformations that happen into the sound, heat, and light as thought, the signals, which is the video signal. This is the audio signal. And then compared to a TV, which has only audio and video, but you have a TV that you can touch. If something comes in a TV, and you can touch and taste and smell. So that's how our thought manifests in us. We have like 5 different things that you can sense and bring this out, and this is all stored within us and in the karma box inside us. And that's so if you look at the way the brain is we think that the brain is everything, but not really. The brain is part of the whole system. The brain is used as a cathode ray tube to project the thoughts that is coming from our karma box. So the karma box is there in the solid state in a human being that is projected. So all our thoughts comes from individual thoughts. Most of our thoughts as genetic thoughts come from our Mooladhara chakra, which is the base for the chakra, is where the karma box is there, because it is the solid state. It can freeze it and keep it there, and then it can project depending on what frequency it projects in different parts of the brain. Each brain parts have different regions, and it projects as thought. Now, why can't we all get the same kind of the process happening in and the thought process is the same for everyone? Now why can't some thought not get manifested and others do? So that's a $1 million question. But you see how the thought can we can manifest good thoughts and we can stop bad thoughts. So here is what you we have, thought arises from here. So that's the Muladhara chakra. And as you go up, these thoughts, when it is called Sukumai, which is like they are like observed as in a hard disk, how their signals are observed. So all these 5 signals are totally observed as little dots, as a magnetic dots inside a disk. And this is called Sukumai. Here, Sukumai means you don't see anything there. You cannot see this thought. And that's when you are going closer to, when you're observing, when you're meditating and you're seeing the gap, that's what happens. And then slowly, like sprouting, the thought starts to sprout like a little, sprouts in the garden. And as this is the time you can still see the thought, you can stop this thought from manifesting, or you can grow this thought. So there are little thoughts, those are ideas that come up to make a combination. You can stop or you can grow on that thought. If it's a bad thought, you kill at this point, it will be good. If it's a good thought, you wanted to grow, pour water and grow the seedlings. So when it comes, as this turns into a climber, the thoughts start to manifest, and this is called the Madhyamai, which is in between. And here also you can even still stop your thought. If it is a bad thought, you can decide, I will stop here, and nothing happens. And once it hits Vaisandhi, which is the topmost part of your head, it starts to blossom. And whatever your projected, whatever you have seen, it could be a huge mountain or a Mount Kailash, or you have seen a Statue of Liberty. Everything is recorded inside, and you can see the projection on top of us, right? And that's the thought. And if it's once you do that, still you can stop after this projection. But once it projects beyond your Sukma, that is the aura, it is gone. So in Tamil, they say, there's a saying, Karanda Pal Mule Puga Kadainda More Puga Udainda Sangin Wasium, Virgulum, Mendum Poi. So like Irandavar Pirapa Dille Pirapa Ille. So there is a saying which says, what goes, if you milk the cow, the cow's milk doesn't go inside the cow again, or you cannot change the milk, the curd into the milk again, or within the malanda kaya mendum poi marampuga. That means you cannot get the when the flower blossoms, it doesn't turn back into its bud, right? So like that, once this thought goes out, it forms the eye cloud, the thought cloud. So these are the thoughts that going to manifest. If it is a bad thought, there will be a cloud of bad thoughts along with it. The frequency will match, and it forms a cloud. If it is a good thought, there will be a bunch of good things together. It will manifest to form a cloud. So other than the outside thought, when the thought comes from inside us, there are different places where thoughts can manifest. Body cells, the neurons, the sperms and ovum, our biomagnetic energy, the aura, the life force, and the cosmic cloud, which is outside, and the karma box, which is essentially the you. That means you, as you are, whenever you're going, you have your own pain, your own, you're carrying the you, even though the bigger you and bigger I is vast, but you have your own pain, and that is the karma box. So all these places, this thought manifests. In order for you to execute something, it has to pass all the way the cosmic cloud and all the way, to the life force, biomagnetism, sperms, the neurons, body cells, and then you have to come to the karma box. All these layers need to cross in order to manifest a thought by yourself. So now, how do we collectively do this thought? So instead of you doing yourself this thought, there are easy ways of doing. You wanted to, it's very difficult, if individuals think something to manifest that, it's a waste of time and energy to do many things. You want to build a house, you want to do that, you want to achieve this. These all are very egoistic approaches, So if you wanted to think even broader, right, instead of a competitive mind that I am going to win, I'm going to do this, but for a global cause, if you want to do this, then the best way is to surrender your ego for the self, and you start to think in terms of the society, how the society can be benefited overall, as well as we get benefit from that. So what you do is to collectively, the cloud that we can form, as you form a nimbus cloud, after that you don't do anything. The nimbus, once it is formed, it's becoming dark, it starts to rain. So similarly, you can only think, and once it goes out of you, it forms an iCloud outside you, and whenever you want, you can download. So you have to, first thing we have to do is, okay, we wanted to do good thoughts. Bad thoughts you can do, but you will have a consequence. You're ready for that? Then you can do, right? You will have a consequences out of it. Any bad thought, you will have a consequence, right? That will harm self or others in the present or in the future. You will have an effect. But if you surrender your ego and you have a thought that is pure thought, even if you're building for yourself or others, so the common way of doing is a group of people get together and say, let us concentrate. You want a house? You want a house? Okay, let's do this. Let's all have a common way of doing these things. A common way of doing this thing is like clearly having a set of process done for that, and clearly have an idea that this is how much the requirement is, and this is how much, and the house size should be there. This is where you wanted to build, etc., etc. And everybody come on a common day, like a full moon day, say, and meditate. And meditate, go deeper and get to zero state, and then come out and you form the cloud. So in this cloud, everybody without conflict should have the same thought at the same time, and you meet every day in a, every month or so at the same time, or every week, and then you start to, just without any other ideas or anything, only take one idea, which is a single pointed focus. So if single pointed focus, suppose you have a problem, you have a cancer issue, you have to call a bunch of people who have cancer, and we do it together. Doing it together has higher probability because of collective consciousness, and you co-realizes, intensification of thought becomes very high, and you are all only forming a single cloud. As you form this cloud stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's going to rain, and when it rains, everybody gets the same kind of benefit. It's very easy to achieve. So instead of use single thoughts to manifest whole life, we are wasting so much of energy because we are trying to fight our own ego with our ego and trying to manifest. If you collect bunch of people together and everybody surrender the ego and look at the bigger cause, then it is possible. And then, you should not download the ideas before the nimbus comes. Once the nimbus comes, it automatically is downloaded. You will get that. You will see that it happens. Your thought is going to be manifested now. You see that the energy comes to you, and that's how you accept whatever result it comes. So your thought is only yours, but then the consequences of the thought is not up to you. You cannot control that, right? So 5 vital points to consider in manifesting a thought. So these are like conscious choices for thought. Your thought needs to be very clear. So for example, you wanted to build a house. Look at the image that you have on the left side. It's a blurred thought. That means you don't know. You want to just build a house, is not going to happen, right? So you have to have a plan. The plan should be clear in the mind. This is the plan. We are talking about a plan in an outside plan, but this plan should run into the mind very clearly. Where you have the bathroom, where you have the thing, where you want to have the house, where you want to build the house. And then you wanted to be clear on the how many windows there are. So your picture, when you're next time sitting, you'll be able to clearly identify that your house is here. You already built the house and you think that you're already living there, and this is how you can manifest. So there is a how many how many houses are needed. There is a necessity. Do we really need a house? You have to think about, do you have the resources? These are important. Do you have resources? Do you have the time for it? Do you have the how big do you need? What kind of materials do you need? All these factors need to be analyzed, and this could be done in a very collective way. If 10 people need a house, they can all put the common ideas are there for the house. They can have different kind of houses, but the common idea of building a house as a thought process, that forms a cloud. And then downloading is very easy. You can manifest that thought. So like that, if you have a conscious thought to do something even broader than just building a house for yourself, thinking about a world university or some other conscious ideas, then that thought can really manifest. And so what you really need is basically a single pointed focus on thought and delivering it to the source. So depending on what the effect will be, your intention, the time, place, the interference, where it interferes, the thought interference, and then it manifests. So the manifest will happen automatically. If you have some problems you need to solve, it will operate. The cloud will operate through different people, and sometimes somebody will come and give you some donation, or you can do it at one time because you may not have that money to do, or some doctor will come and give you a medicine and it's all gone. You may think that's happened through somebody, but it happened through the thought cloud. So anything can happen through the thought cloud, and thought clouds are very easy to form. When you are commonly thinking certain things, you don't have to waste that much of time. So that's the whole concept of thought manifestation. So now I wanted to end here. If you have any questions on this, you can ask. Any questions? Yes.
Sean sir, this is Jagadish.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed the initial few minutes because I was late. Will you be sharing this recording, Sean sir?
Well, yeah. Well, I could share.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions?
Sir, when this is Balu. So when we observe the thought, and we were actually going back between zeros and ones, right? So when we have a thought and then there is no thought, and when there's a thought and there's no thought. When there is thought, is it actually in the higher? So is it in the Mooladhara or the lower chakras, or is it actually has blossomed and it is kind of, when we are able to observe it, it is actually in the highest blossomed state? At what stage are we observing that at what stage are we observing the thought?
Well, thought is a state. It is not a place. Even though we talk about Mooladhara, frozen state, but your mind is not in the Mooladhara basically, because you're not observing the Mooladhara. Instead, you're observing the thought. So your state of mind is very different. So your state of mind changes. So your state of mind goes to lower frequency, which is, the gap. And as so when you have the gap huge, then the intensification of the thought is like not the same as the one which is going on a regular. The intensification goes higher and higher at the spot, and it's like a delta wave. And these are very different. So those thought will manifest. So those thoughts are very important. At low frequency, you cannot actually have a bad thought in low frequencies. So you can always have you can only have a good thought at low frequency. You cannot make a mistake. That's the difference between, like ancient technology from sage scientists versus the modern scientist technology. When modern scientists do this, they make a lot of mistakes because they are high frequency thoughts. So these are, when low frequency thought comes, it doesn't mean modern scientists didn't have. Some scientists like Tesla, Einstein had low frequency thought they captured, but not like right now people are working in the lab and with all the deadlines and all. But so we can really it is not about a place there at that time. It is just a state. State is different from place. Like how you're turning on your light, with different, you have a knob, you can turn on the knob and then your light can become red, green. You turn to 0, it is yellow, it is 1, it is green, like that. It is the light is not going anywhere. It is the frequency that is changing, and same thing happens inside you. There is nothing called a place there. Place doesn't really exist. All this thought we are talking about are only states, and we because we are in a body consciousness, we are thinking about there is a place there, but it is everywhere, because you are not just the body. It is everywhere. So only when you're explaining in the body type about where the thought is, we are talking about Mooladhara. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Dr. Shan?
Yes.
Namaste. This is Shanu. I have a question. I read somewhere that says your thought is not your thought. And so depending on what you said just now, so is it like that we are at a different frequency, and whatever the thought waves are traveling, and we are capturing those thoughts?
Yeah, well, if somebody need to think that those thoughts, then so that means they had their thought. So you think about this. So if frequency your thought is not there, if somebody else was thinking and their thought is there, and that came from their own place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you do create thoughts, because your thought is coming from consciousness within you. Because your consciousness, you are capable of creating thoughts. All wonderful thoughts come from the consciousness only. So far, many things were invented from inside. It's not from outside. So these all are thoughts from our inside only. So, but the inside is the consciousness within us. So those thoughts, the bad thoughts also are consciousness, but their frequency is high. Everything comes from consciousness only, good and bad. but the frequency is where it varies, right? So you do capture thought. You do sometimes capture thoughts from outside, but you also have your original thought. That's why we have your karma box. You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shan.
Thank you. Yeah, I can go for one more question and then we can go. Okay, there's no questions.
So Shan sir, Jagdish again. So can you explain? So when we say, or when folks say that observe the root of the, or the source of the thought, and if it is consciousness, what I know if it's not physical, and if you're trying to get to the root or source of the thought, are you still observing the thought and kind of understand where it is coming from, or what does it really mean?
Well, it is like you observe, you start to observe in the beginning, and you are seeing like 1, 0, 1, 0, and then you start to observe closer. You become, you see that the 0 is widening up. And if you really look at like who is the observer, so whether you are 1, 0 or the observer. So if you really look at, there is an observer who observes that. And so you're not either 0 or 1, but then if you look at really who is the observer, it is the 0 itself. The 0 itself is observing the 1. And if the 0 observes itself, it will not exist. So as far as human beings want to exist, you will have a thought. If you don't have a thought, you do not exist. Kandavar Vindadile, Vindavar Kandadile. That's what we say. One who saw that never came back. One came back, did not see it. So that's where we are as a zeros, and we still can observe the 1. And that's it. We have to, because as you sucked into 0, you can go. That's Nilacharna Anubhavam. We say like you can go closer. You can increase the 0, the length of the 0, but you don't become the 0 yet. And that is the beauty of consciousness. If you want to become the 0, you never return, and that doesn't have any value. And that's what Siddhas did. But if you're staying closer and coming back, you can give many secrets for the world. And that's what Hariyanta does, and many sage scientists who developed this amazing things gave to us. So what Maharishi did, Padalar, we are, all these people are in that category. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We have some interesting courses coming up. You can take a look at our courses. We have right now. We have the Nadi astrology that's going on. It's going really great. Coming up next will be our ancient agriculture by Dr. Thimmaya. It's a wonderful course to understand. It's all based on, we want to do home gardening through ancient science and technology. A lot of expertise, biodynamic farming, and all these things we are going to give summer. So we're starting early in March, so you can seed and form your own garden at your backyard without much space. And then we have the Siddha culinary medicine, teach you cooking according to ancient science, how they cooked in ancient days, and what are the how the medicinal benefits of those, through how can you cause you solve your diabetes problem just by cooking certain type of food for your pressure and things like that. So that's 2 courses that are coming up. And as you support all of us, you are doing a good karma. And more than that, you think commonly that everybody think that more than your support could be the thought cloud. And I would like to have a thought cloud for ancient science and technology in all the meetings starting now. So everybody just close your eyes and then just go to form a thought cloud, common thought cloud, and this cloud is for manifesting all the sage scientist ideas. So all these, let us download all the sage scientist idea. You have a lot of gurus inside you. Let us download everything there. Your gurus, you wanted to bring your gurus ideas there, and all that come to a common thought cloud. And now this thought cloud is accessible to everyone. So let us manifest on this, and when it mixes, everything becomes everything. It's all confused. There's no identity of any guru or anything. It is common consciousness. It's one consciousness. And this thought concept is called co-realization. And everything comes together, fused together. And we can download anything, any moment from here. We get multiple benefits out of this. So let us do this every week before, so we can manifest the thought and it will work. Instead of isolating ourselves and dividing into different guru system, different religion system, etc. One manifestation, and then we can download everything from there. Hope you all agree, and there is no conflict here. Okay. Thank you. Have a great.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.